Shalom, shalom. I want to first start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to called Loyam, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Rachak, that's Rakatham. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of great millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat and the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is an edifying video. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad, the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth to you. I say Shalom. This is Brother Yahweh Saab out of the GMS Cleveland Church, fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit, through the power of Yahweh Shem Shai. And came across this article on Newsbreak through the Spirit. It moved me to do a lesson. So it's titled, Here's Why There Are Empty Shelves in Your Local Grocery Store. Now, like I say, we're Midwest. I'm in Cleveland, so along with like Chicago, Detroit, or Chicago, Michigan, or Illinois, Michigan, right? Ohio. So that's more so like Midwest. But saying all that to say this, some brothers, of course, on the East and the West Coast, they are experiencing and seeing this more. It's more prevalent in those areas. I can say at certain like I do a lot of shopping at Dollar Tree, um, not so much for food, but I get like because for $1 you can't beat some of the stuff they have. I might get some tortilla shells, or I might get some pasta noodles, or what I mean, just little knickknacks. Of course, I eat junk food still. I will be honest. But then they have peanuts and whatnot, popcorn and whatnot. I eat a lot of popcorn because popcorn is more healthier, or it's more healthy than eating potato chips. But nonetheless, that's not a bad place to stock up or get that type of stuff. And I had noticed that like certain products, they were having trouble refilling. It's a particular brand of popcorn that I eat that I'll get from there. Like they have the kettle corn. Long story short, I watched during this like whole pandemic how like they'll have it stocked and then they'll run out of the stock of it and you might not see it for a month. So that's what we're experiencing. That's what I've been seeing. You know, um, as far as shelves being bare like this, um, you know, um, that also depends on the time. If it's a particular time of the month, because brothers have took pictures and sent them in the group chats and whatnot. Then I understand, like a Walmart, if it's the beginning of the month and everybody got food stamps, by the time you go in there, this Walmart closes at like 11, 10, something like that. Yeah, when you go in there, they might have hadn't restocked it, so it would look like kind of bare. But brothers are reporting. I'm seeing even people that's 2/3 or the heathen reporting on shelves being bare. I was watching a video that Dabu did. So it says, here's why there are empty shelves in your local grocery store, and they're going to give you all these different reasons, and they do play a part. But I'm going to give you the real reason why the shelves are bare. So this is it says the highly contagious Omarion V is fueling a record surge in the U.S. The virus continues to stricken workers, creating staff shortages as employees are calling off due to illness or require quarantine. Meanwhile, many parts of the country, including the Midwest and Northeast, have been slammed with severe winter weather that has unleashed hazardous commuting conditions. Supermarket shelves in many places across the country are looking increasingly barren as the Omarion wave supply chain snags and winter weather have put a strain. Slovakia. That's some goofy. Um, Slovakia for that. Look at this. I'm trying to scroll up. Uh, Since supply chain snags and winter weather have put a strain on several major grocers, and I'm sure that does play a part. They was talking about some of these major meat packers because of you know the pandemic. The quarantine and the employees getting sick, that had affected, how much meat got brought to market and whatnot. Um, but that's not the true reason. It says the highly contagious um, Omarion is fueling a record surge in the U.S. The nation reported a record 135 million new infections Monday and shattered its record for hospitalization Tuesday with a total of 145,982 people hospitalized with CV, according to the Washington Post. And what's just funny about this is too is because when you research it, like even Fauci made statements and whatnot, they say this is no more deadlier than the common cold. Now, yeah, the infection rate is supposed to be high. That's why you're supposed to be, it's like everybody could get a cold. You know what I mean? But they're creating or painting a narrative based on something. I mean, they're painting a narrative of how deadly this is when, yes, it's contagious, but like I said, from the research I've followed and, what I've heard about it, that's why you haven't had any deaths from it. You know, people might have died from, because this is a whole new strain, and that's what makes you wonder if it was weaponized as well, because you got all these different strains and it's mutating and you know what I mean. I was hearing that they was talking about it's a new strain called HU or something, H8U or something like that. I remember the brother Araron from Men of Valor was speaking on it. Um, The surge is manifesting itself in grocery chains nationwide as the virus continues to sicken workers, creating staff shortages as employees are calling out due to illness or require quarantine. Employee shortages appear to be occurring across all industries, impacting logistics and transportation of products. So that plays a part as well. You know what I mean? Like you got, like with the docks, they using the fact that it's a shortage of workers, and that's why it's a shortage of goods because of the fact you don't have workers to actually work those docks, move the products from those containers, and yada yada yada. That it plays a part, trust me, but that's not the true reason. Um, while there is plenty of food in the supply chain, we anticipate consumers will continue to experience a sporadic disruption in certain product categories as we have seen over the past year and a half due to the ongoing supply and labor challenge. So they're saying that although shelves shouldn't be dramatically affected, you will be it will be like somewhat difficult to receive certain products. Like that's why Hennessy, the price of Hennessy went up because that's imported. That's from France. So and because the supply chain is broken, it's taking longer for goods to get. So so now certain things that are more expensive, and that's also because of the fact of inflation. You know what I mean, which is prophesied in the book of Habakkuk chapter 2. Uh, Jim Dulek of the National Grocers Association told the Washington Post in a recent earnings call. Albertsons CEO Vivek Sankaran said the grocer had been seeking a lack of inventory for several months. We were expecting that supply issues to get more resolved as we go into the period right now, he said, but it's being less. The supply chain, because the supply chain has been heavily affected. You know, Omarion has put a bit of a dent on that, but it wasn't just Omarion. See how they're painting the narrative. This happened based on, like they was already saying, that the supply chain was weakening prior to all this happening. But then, like I said, because of shutdowns and quarantines, yes, of course that would affect everything. You know what I mean? You got workers because, on one hand they saying it's a lack of workers, but then you got all these government programs set in place for people not to have to work. You got to remember Biden just set up in place the child tax credit where people were getting income, based on because they had kids. So they took away welfare and did welfare reform, but then gave these nothing ass women that's just popping out babies another chance to get free checks. You know what I'm saying? Which is going to affect shit because based on them giving you that money, taking that tax credit early, it basically affects your refund this year. Meanwhile, many parts of the country, including the Midwest, as a Spirit, and Northeast, have been slammed with severe winter weather that have unleashed hazardous commuting conditions, making it more difficult to transport goods and thus resulting in more shortages. Which again, they play a part, but like I said, I'm going to give you the true reason why you know you have a shortage of goods on the shelves. A severe snowstorm last week left thousands of drivers stranded on Interstate 95 outside DC for nearly a full day. So, you know what's funny about these apps nowadays? How they just abruptly end the article. You know, they just they say read more stories from Changing America. So, okay, so that's how it ended. So they came up with all these different reasons of why you're seeing a shortage of groceries. But the true reason why you're seeing a shortage of groceries is because it was prophesied to be that way. The scriptures speak on certain things. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get this book of Romans, chapter 15. It's Romans 15, and the point is verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. And we are prisoners of hope. It talks about in the scriptures, in the Lord's wrath, remember mercy. So, the difference between us that, are in the truth, that are children of the way, that follow Yahweh Shem Yahushua, is we're going to be in the midst of this, um, just like the people that because judgment is really for 2/3. The judgment is not for the righteous, but the righteous will be amongst it. As a testimony, multitude of reasons, to give other brothers hope. You know what I mean? You know, uh, but nonetheless, you know, anything written or spoken of aforetime, like the scriptures, is a book of prophecies. It's a history book. Also, I think Ezekiel said, a book of mournings, lamentations, and woe. you know, it's not a book of kumbaya and everybody come together. It's a book of prophecy, and one of the prophecies is a famine. You know, I'm gonna go get this out of the book of Second Ezra. It's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 6, and the point is verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And you seeing that with this picture. The storehouses is where you store food. You know, although in the ancient world it wasn't set up the way that it is set up today, because in the ancient world you didn't just stockpile food in a refrigerator. It wasn't a refrigeration system. You know what I mean? When it was time to eat, somebody would slaughter whatever animal, the lawful animal, you know, be it a lamb or a cow or whatnot. They would slaughter it and you would eat that day. It wasn't really no such thing as leftovers or whatnot, and you putting stuff in the refrigerator. Because when you take the time to think about it, once an animal is dead, you know what I mean? Like, that's why they say it's important to how you actually take an animal out. And then, because you are what you eat. So if the animal has fear in its blood, it secretes chemicals. If an animal's in fear when it dies, it secretes a hormone. And that's in the blood that you're eating. Well, you're not eating the blood, Salakia, because, the scriptures tell you we're not supposed to eat any food with blood in it. That's the difference between Jacob and Esau. And that's how you should know who the red Hebrew Edomite is and who you're not. Most Jakes like to eat their food well done. You'll see an Edomite eat a Jake have a steak and an Edomite have a steak. Most of the time, and even no matter how the fuck, I've had Edomites try to explain why they eat their food bloody and all that shit. And no, they'll be like, well, because of the blood, and when you working out, and that's why the more oxygen that is delivered to the body, that helps you get bigger. No, they prefer to eat their food bloody. I've worked at a restaurant, and I used to watch how they would cook the burgers, medium rare and rare. Just bloody fucking meat. As opposed to Jake, when they eating a steak, usually it's well done, medium well done. You know what I mean? Uh, that brown, that black. No blood in it. So the storehouses again is a place where you store the food. You know what I mean? Back in the day, again, you didn't store food like that. Yeah, maybe grains were stored to a degree, but as far as like I said, having a refrigerator full of chicken and steaks and lamb meat was not the case. So it says, and suddenly shall the sudden, it's like it, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly shall suddenly be found empty, and that's prophecy. And you're beginning to see that today. This might not be affecting everybody the same. So again, America's a huge place. But being in this truth, we got a brothers worldwide, and you got different brothers reporting different stuff. They talk about the cost of goods in Chicago. I remember the Elder Malcolm said that. He said it was him and another brother, and they got maybe like 4 or 5 items, and the bill was like $80. The brother whose child was Bakura Moth, I think they in New York, and basically he said how he went and got like some water and maybe some pistachios. He said he had 3 items, and the bill was like $60 or something like that. So yeah, this is taking place even if you wanted to or yes. Like the brother Araran say. He said, if you like it or yes. You know what I mean? Anyhow, so that's prophecy. And the scripture is a book of prophecies. If you go into 2nd Ezra chapter 9, it talks about the signs and the tokens. He answered, this is 2nd Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before. So the signs are the prophecies. And that's what we're watching for. And that's why, we consider ourselves watchmen. As watchmen, we supposed to watch for the signs and the tokens so we can present them to the people, to the heathen, so we can know what time we in. That's how we measure it. Then shalt thou understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. We're seeing the prophecies play out, so that's why we know that the Most High God is behind all of this, and you see it, prophecy come past back to back to back. It's a lot of judgment on the planet. You seeing earthquakes, uproars, which I'm reading now, verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. A lot of brothers have been speaking on what happened in Kazakhstan. You got protesters that's going on in America. And the things that's going on in other countries is going to come here, no matter if you don't like it to or don't believe it. Scriptures in Romans chapter 3 talks about just because it says, so what if some did not believe? Does it make to make it not affect? I got to go get it because I'm butchering it. Salakia. It's Romans 3. It says, Romans 3:3, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua without effect? Yahweh forbid. Let Yahweh be true, but every man a liar, as it is written. So, every man that don't believe on this, so what? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the Most High God is speaking now. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is speaking now by bringing forth these prophecies. So, and then it tells you in Scripture that the Most High God is a man and he cannot lie. That's why everything is going to come to fruition and be made manifest. Verse 4, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. And that's why I started with that Romans 15:4. The things that were written for before time were written for our learning, so we may have hope, because we are already aware that certain things was going to take place at the last days. So being that you're a believer, you shouldn't be frightened or afraid, because if you truly believe and love the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, you will want these things to come to pass. I did a video maybe a month ago about this transhumanist agenda. Now you got Christians and the Catholic Church, they're all behind the fact of, whatever it takes to have a long life on this side. So how do you truly believe in something that's spiritual if you talking about enhancing yourself through carnal means? You don't truly believe in. And a lot of people in that day is gonna see how much you gonna see. I mean, the world shows you that when literally, this great big boogeyman came out of the cut and they told them to lock down their churches and they did. At a time when their congregation needed, guidance from the pastor more than any time in history, the pastor couldn't help you. We're gonna do it online. And that's a form of promoting, this new system. Because everything is about to be digital. Everything is about to be online. I mean, when you go into that metaverse shit while people not even aware of what you really getting yourself into, like that's called augmented reality. So, the reality is you, like how we just walk outside the house and go over to your buddy's house, you won't be able to do that. That's what they're doing all this. You need to quarantine and, you know what I mean? You need to, stay 6 feet from one another. Even many futuristic movies where they actually have a society. I mean, 1984 just popped in my head. That's a book and a movie, and that's how society was ran. People weren't allowed to actually socialize with one another. And it was all based on the government controlling. So, again, you got a lot of people that are spiritually asleep. And I mean, if you can't, it's because the Lord doesn't want you to get it. Verse 5, for like as all that as so like for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And it talks about the end being nigh and being evil. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get that real quick, and then I'm gonna get the prophecy. Because what's that? I think it's Ezekiel chapter 7, I think. Ezekiel 7 and verse 6. Salaki, I'm gonna start at verse 5. Ezekiel 7 and 5. Thus to saith the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, and evil and only evil, behold, is come. So when you go into the word evil, it's bad times. Evil goes into bad times. And that's what we're approaching. Like I said, you got right now, you got a lot of people that's actually hurting. You know what I mean? Like I said, you got people that didn't even get one of the stimuluses. Then you have people that's sitting on 30,000 from the government. You had a lot of fraud go on. Why do you think there's a lot of like robbery and whatnot going on? Because everybody's not enjoying it. A lot of people ain't eating. And then it's even making it even more worse because you got a lot of companies, although the mandate isn't enforced like that, you got certain companies that's already like enforcing the fact that if you don't have that jab, you can't work with their establishment or that company. And the end is come, it watching for thee, behold, it is come. So you seeing like the end manifest. It talks about in the book of Matthew how the end of days will be. And Yahweh Shah Mashiach will come at the end. So that's how we know that we don't have too much longer before our big brother, our Lord and Savior, appears. We'll get this. That was Timothy, but what am I looking for? Oh yeah, because famine is not no joke. Scriptures go into many accounts about the famine, but nonetheless, and when you read them, like when you go into 2 Kings 6, or hell, the famine in the book of Genesis with Joseph when he was the viceroy and whatnot of Egypt. And Jacob had to send, or Israel had to send his sons into the land to buy grain. Because the thing is this, a famine is not a complete lack of food. It's a rarity or a scarcity of food. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 16. And the thing is, the Lord can use famine as a means of judgment. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 19. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So amendment is a change. So because the world is going off by creating all or committing all this sin, it's a sinful nation, sinful generation of people, our people first and foremost, but the world is steeped in, a sinful culture, you know what I mean? constantly the breaking of the laws of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Verse 20. But these plagues, these famines, this tribulation, they're sent as a scourge to a men to get the people to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So, I may mention this before, because when they locked it down, we're going on 3 years of this. People don't even realize that. We're going on 3 years of this, and literally, they when it first took place, you had people somewhat nervous. You know what I mean? Oh wow, what's going on? Nigga woman was a little bit less loud mouthed and all that. But then as soon as they gave them that opportunity for freedom, allowing you to go back to walking outside and opening up clubs again, people completely forgot about you was just locked down. And that's human nature. It talks about that in the scriptures. I forgot exactly how it's worded, but it talks about how in times of and basically it goes into like how in the good times people forget about the rough times, and the rough times people long for the good times. You know what I mean? Roughly paraphrase. I know I butchered it, but it's something like that mentioned in the scriptures. It says, "Behold, vigil shall be so like it. Behold, vigil shall be so good, cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." Because, right now, people do think they're in good case. Like I say, it's places right now where people aren't, having their way. We're considered like a top tier country. The way that people live here, even though those that are homeless here don't live like those in a third world country. You got people that's homeless here and still can eat without $1 in their pocket. You got people that's homeless in America that get checks, and because of how fucked up America is, they would rather sleep and be homeless because they don't want to budget. They don't want to take any responsibility, and that's what America creates. You know what I mean? You relied on a system, because those people like that literally want to live out in the streets and just be on drugs and shit, and then, because they feel like they had good case. Wait till they literally like fuck up the government when like Trump not in office, but when like if something happens that affects the government giving you your check or whatnot. I mean, I had to one of my portions of my lot was to be homeless. And you know what? I watched how before that pandemic came, you had Jake able to go to all these soup kitchens and eat for free all day and still have their money and get high all night. At the end of the day, once that pandemic came, all the little soup kitchens and shit wasn't allowing you to come in there to eat. You got people that don't even go to the soup kitchens all the time just to eat. They might go, like it was one particular one we would go to, they would open at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and they wouldn't close until 4, I think. So if it's cold outside, because we in Ohio, we Midwest, so we get from here very hot. We like in a valley. So that's just like in California when I went to Long Beach. I didn't know that California was a valley. So their weather is kind of similar. They don't get snow all the time, but it gets snow in the mountains. But it's not like all hot like you think. Like, that's the misconception. Just like when I went to Miami. It wasn't super hot like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's, nonetheless, like I say, let something happen that affects these people's paychecks. Or not paychecks, but their government checks, their benefits. Because like I said, you can't literally, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of, because of the things that have been put in place, like I said, I mean, the 6 feet distancing ain't just in no restaurants. That's supposed to be applied to businesses and all that. I work at a production plant. So, you know what I mean? That's supposed to be applied there too. Because you got to remember, this was ingenious what this devil did. At the end of the day, he created, it's a saying that was quoted saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. So, therefore, like, based on this pandemic, it affected the whole world. And by being able to, I forgot what the term was used, but basically, based on this, they can actually create major change in the whole world as well, which you're seeing. Just 2, 3 years ago, you didn't have to have a mask. Now to enter certain establishments, you got to have a mask. It says, for verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So that's as a judgment, and it's a horrible judgment at that, because of the fact, you know, famine, to die from hunger is one of the worst deaths possible. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like drowning or burning to death, but being like caught in a fire. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, ain't nothing like you know, dying of starvation, dying of not food, not eating, because what happens is basically your body begins to eat itself. That's why when you literally like go on a fast, say for instance you had like a little beer gut or something like that. If you go on a long enough fast, your body will eat that fat, that belly fat. So just imagine if you don't have food for, like a month, which you got people that can go. I mean, because you see that in like some of them third world countries, like in Africa or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like you got some of them people that are dirt poor and like they make mud dirt sandwiches and whatnot. Like I think they do that in Haiti. That's how bad Haiti is. You know what I mean? Like Haiti that poor, they'll make mud or dirt sandwiches just to have something to eat. So like I say, starvation, to die of starvation is a horrible, horrible death. But it's a judgment that the Lord can use too. So when you see in the beginning of these famines, understand that the Lord is about to visit this place because he's judging it. This is Lamentations 4 verse 9. They that been slain, Salakia, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away stricken through for one of the fruits of the field. Verse 10, the hands of the pitiful woman have sought in their own children. So basically, it talks about in the scriptures how you're going to eat the fruit of your body. I think that's it. Deuteronomy, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But when you go into that, the fruit of your own body is your children. And when you go into scriptures, it's accounts. That's why people people don't, they think they know. It talks about having a zeal for the Most High, but not according to knowledge. Our people are some of the most spiritual people. You'll have a nigga that's a super nigga that believe in the Most High God, but don't understand the Most High God. When you really, really, really read the scriptures, you'll have more fear for the Lord than you see. That was ingenious what the devil did, because the devil got you thinking the Most High God is your friend. You could just go out and do some fucked up shit and he gonna just go forgive you. It's not guaranteed the Most High God gotta forgive you. It tells you in scripture he's not a respecter of persons. That's why when David sinned, he didn't kill David, but he killed his son. And David had to watch that shit. It says, verse 10, Lamentations 4 and 10, the hands of the pitiful woman have sought in their own children. They were their meat. I'm going to reread that. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. So if their own children were their meat, they ate their fucking kids. I mean, one of the most amazing judgments that Solomon did was, that wasn't Solomon. That was the king in 2 Kings, because it was a situation, the same similar type of situation. It was two women, both had kids, and they came to a pact because it was a siege going on in the city. So to eat, they basically agreed they was gonna eat each other kids. One was gonna serve up her kid, and they was gonna partake, and then the other one was gonna serve up her kid, and they were gonna partake. So the one basically gave up her kid, and they ate him, and then when it came time to eat the other one, she didn't want to eat her kid. So she went to the king and told the king this. And the king, tore his clothes and I think threw dirt on his head, because when you do that, that was a sign of mourning for Israel. That was, one of the customs of Israelites. That's how you show you were in deep mourning. So saying all that to say this, it is a famine coming, believe it or not. You're going to have people that's going to be starving, but it tells you the Lord's, who the Lord's dealing with, they're going to feed, they're going to eat, you know, because the Lord is going to have them, so he's going to take care of them, so he's going to feed them. Just like when they were in the wilderness, for the 40 years. The Lord allowed manna to fall down from heaven. And guess what a nigga did? A nigga said, man, I'm tired of eating this manna. It's heavenly bread. When you go into the manna, it was like, it's funny because the Lord didn't just give you the manna, he gave us quail. So when you go into like chicken and waffles, basically that's what it was. It was bread and quail is of course a chicken. Well, it's not a chicken, but it's a sort of it's a lawful bird for us to eat. I've actually had quail, by the way, and it's not bad. It's pretty good actually. So that's where you get your chicken and pancakes from, for real. Ain't the Lord funny? Because when you go into who created the chicken and pancakes, that wasn't no Edomite that came up with that. This is Isaiah 65 and verse 12. Therefore will I double you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called ye, ye did not answer. When I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before my eyes, and did choose that wherein I did not, Salakia, wherein I delighted not. Verse 13 is the point. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. And, it talks about in the scriptures about how you're going to have to go to your enemy for one of all things. Right now, we're in a system where basically you got a lot of people that only survive based on the fact that Esau Edom allows them to. When they don't really give a fuck about you, you know what I mean? You got to understand, when they build these housing projects and shit like that, you got companies that make millions and millions of dollars off this shit. Then they put you in a place, in a cheap ass dwelling place. Now, if you can't see that the housing projects are actually fucking like that's a curse lightweight. You shouldn't be living up under nobody. We all supposed to have a certain amount of land. I don't want to hear you fucking just like you don't want to hear me arguing. But not in America. You know what I mean? Like I said, again, that's how low level we done became. You know what I mean? Like people think that this is how life's supposed to be, and this is the complete opposite of how life's supposed to be. Another thing this devil do is, no matter what the crime is, you could have committed a murder. Yet still, they'll just put you in jail forever. All for the sake of them making money off the shit. Because that's what the prisons are. They a money-making system. When you go into the whole, how they had, what's that, the 14th Amendment? Where they abolished slavery, but the only way that you could actually, like, do labor for free is in prison. That's how this devil think. Salakia for digression right there. But point being, so it's saying basically, the servants of the Lord go eat while, those that rejected the Lord are going to starve. And again, if you ain't down with this man's system, because basically Esau coming with salvation on the left-hand side. We wait for salvation on the right-hand side. But to get that, you're going to have to go through some things. This is a test of your faith. It's funny how all these people that call themselves Christians and know the Bible and I'm highly favored and, twice blessed and all this old crazy shit, but don't know nothing about the Lord. Don't know what he liked, don't know what he disliked, none of that. But you got this hell of a relationship with the Lord. And that day you going to see how you know how, because the only way you going to be able to, and that's why scriptures talk about for those that give up their life for my sake shall find it. Those that try to hold on to their life will lose it. You're going to have a lot of people that's going to basically, because right now this devil applying pressure. Look at, he created a system. If you don't go, and this thing is not about for real. Like I said, if you actually follow this shit, they literally said this shit is not it's not deadly. It's like a flu. It's like, not a flu, it's like a common cold. So yeah, it's more transmissible because a common cold, yeah, it could get everybody sick. But people are not. That's why they're not mentioning all these deaths off of they keep on telling you it's a whole bunch of people getting affected, but they not telling you all people dying left and right. I got a Newsbreak app. It's something about this CV every fucking day. I ain't seen one thing about no death yet. I've seen a lot of stars die. You know what I mean? I think that chick Betty White died from the booster because it said she made a statement talking about she had just got a booster. You know how many people that actually took the booster died? So, like I said, relying on this devil, he gonna put you in a trick bag. Cause, like I said, in order to survive in this world that people want to hold on to, yeah, you gonna have to take this shit. It ain't gonna be just, oh, okay, this the third one, and you ain't gotta take it no more. Cause you gotta understand, the company that created this shit, now they making money off the boosters. Esau is a carnal man. Everything is based on money and land. Why do you think you got a group of individuals that just want to own everything, all the resources? So, with all that being said, I ain't mean to go that long, Salakia. With all that being said, if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Simple Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, to the statutes, and to the commandments of Yahweh Shem Shai, or you will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to call loyal, La Yahweh, Shem Shai, Shem, double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Aqua, to the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willing, this was edified. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad. In the land of other nations appear like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth. To you I say shalom. So next time I'm able to come with another lesson. Shalom, shalom. Shalom.